All right, so let us now start discussing church music in the Renaissance period. So we are done with the apostolic era, and also we are done with the medieval era of church music. Okay, so now, dadako po tayo sa church music in the Renaissance period, which was noong 1400 to 1600s Anno Domini. So when we say Renaissance, the Renaissance period marked a time of cultural rebirth and renewed interest in classical antiquity. Meron po tayong tinatawag dito mga kapatid na humanism, which is humanism influenced the arts, sciences, and also theology, creating a significant shift in how church music was composed and performed. So the period saw the development of more complex polyphony and the evolution of sacred music with new techniques for both vocal and instrumental compositions. Noong ah, doon sa medieval period, mga kapatid, makikita natin na habang patapos ang medieval period, nagsisimula na yung pagyabong ng polyphonic na klase ng musika na ginagamit sa simbahan. Dito naman sa Renaissance, from the word cultural rebirth and renewed interest in classical antiquity, makikita natin dito yung growth, makikita natin dito yung development ng mas complex, ibig sabihin, mas develop, mas maganda, or much better na klase ng polyphonic church music. And we can also see here yung pagbabago, yung evolution of sacred music with, again, sabi dito, with new techniques. Okay? So yun ang pag-aaralan natin sa gabing ito. Okay, number one. Number one is the development of polyphony and imitative techniques. Okay, from 1400s to 1500s. All right, so let us see here the key developments. First, polyphony, or the use of multiple independent voices, flourished in the Renaissance period. So kung i-compare natin ang medieval period, okay, nag-i-start pa lang ang polyphony. Though nag-start ang church sa paggamit ng monophonic, at noong pa-end na ang medieval period, dun na nag-start ang polyphonic. At sa panahon ng Renaissance period, nag-flourish na ang polyphony. Even the composers moved away from the monophonic tradition of the medieval period. Imitative polyphony became a hallmark of Renaissance music. So ang technique na ito mga kapatid involved one voice imitating another in a complex pattern, creating rich textures. Ang isa sa mga technique mga kapatid ay yung tinatawag nating cantus firmus, na kung saan Ang isang voice, ang isang boses, okay, often a Gregorian chant, served as the foundation for the other voices. Kumbaga, para mas maintindihan at makarelate tayo mga kapatid, we have four major voices sa choir. We have the soprano, the alto, the tenor, and the bass. Tama po ba? Now, kung i-relate natin yung apat na boses sa cantus firmus technique, okay? Ang cantus firmus technique, yung sinasabi dito na merong isang boses, often a Gregorian chant, served as the foundation for the other voices. We can say na ito yung soprano, which is masasabi natin na melody nung kanta. And then lalapatan ngayon ng tenor, alto, at ng bass na kung saan sila yung gagawa ng harmony. Okay? So, ganun po ang cantus firmus. Now, let us try to listen sa isang example po dito.
This AI tool will take your idea and create.
Nakikita
A
natin yung
complete book
presentation.
complete with design,
Hindi po pas.
images, layout,
Okay, wait lang
everything,
po.
including.
Ayan. So, pakinggan po natin, mga kapatid, ang isang technique na kung tawagin ay cantus firmus. Yan. So, meron na siyang harmony. Tama po ba? Alright. So, okay na po, Pastor. Thank you. So, kung makikita ho natin, na-emphasize dyan sa music na yan, yung foundation. Okay? Bago ho nagkaroon ng harmony, in-emphasize muna or binigyan ng emphasis yung Gregorian chant. Ayan. Yung foundation ng music. Now, ang characteristics mga kapatid ng polyphony, of course, four or more voice parts, often in perfect harmony with smooth flowing lines. As far as I can remember, it is my first time to use the term smooth, if I'm not mistaken, na kung saan mafe-feel natin yung pagiging smooth ng Renaissance period. Kasi ang sabi nga ho ng ilang mga estudyante nung last discussion natin, yung epekto ng medieval period na klase ng church music ay mabigat. Okay po? Pero dito sa Renaissance, smooth flowing lines. So music became more melodic with an emphasis on clarity and expressiveness. So the use of word painting, musical representation of the meaning of the text, naging common. Okay po? So now, pakinggan ho natin ang next na example ng isang Renaissance period na church music.
Streamline your operations. NTech Philippines
Ayan. See, kung makikita ho talaga natin, mga kapatid, kung i-compare natin yung pagiging smooth, kumbaga mas maaliwalas na sa tenga ng tao. Okay? Mas mataas na yung pitch, mas mataas na yung range, mas smooth compare sa medieval period na klase ng mga church music. Again, do not forget, ito yung gusto kong maintindihan natin. First, makikita natin sa panahon ng apostolic era, they were just using their I mean their mouth, wala pang uh, standardized yan na klase ng music. And then sa panahon ng medieval, chant ang ginagamit, which is the Gregorian chant. And then nagsimula silang uh, gumawa ng nota, alright, para sa preservation ng music at the time. Hindi na lang siya verbally na ipapasa sa mga next generations, kundi na preserve nila through writing, okay? And then, monophonic lang ang ginagamit nila at makikita natin na mababa yung range na ginagamit nila because sa medieval period makikita natin na talagang uh, yun yung era na full of darkness, kumbaga, or the dark era. Okay? And then dito sa Renaissance, do not forget the word rebirth. Okay? Nagsisimula ng umusbong ulit. That is why may mga key influencers dito which is very, very important to know. Like si Guillaume Dufay, which is a pivotal figure in the early Renaissance. Na si Dufay po was one of the first to fully embrace polyphony. So yung nag-start. Ayan. Next naman is si Johannes or Johannes Ockeghem or Ockeghem, and he was known for his complex contrapuntal techniques and contributions to the mass. Ibig sabihin ng complex contrapuntal, talagang he is more on the polyphonic way of singing sa mga churches at that time. So sila yung talaga yung nagpalaganap. And also, si Josquin des Prez, and often considered the most influential composer of his time. Okay? So, kung doon sa medieval period, ang mga kilala si Pope Gregory, okay? Dito naman, si Josquin, and he perfected polyphonic techniques and was praised for his expressive use of text in music. So, again, noon, doon sa apostolic era, they were just using they were just creating sounds, all right? And also, they are using hymnals, okay? Maaring may mga ganun ng part, mga kapatid. And then, dito, uh, no, pagsapit ng medieval, ang sinusulat lang sa papel, notes, okay? Now, dito sa Renaissance, sinulat na nila yung nota, polyphonic yung ginagamit, may text na rin sa papel. So makikita natin dito, mga kapatid, yung progress ng church music. Okay, number 2, which is the rise of choral masses and motets. Okay, from 15th to 16th century. So the mass, mga kapatid, and the motet were the two primary forms of sacred music during this period. Okay, huwag niyo kakalimutan yung mass and the motet. Okay, were the two primary forms of sacred music during this period. Both genres, kapag sinabi mo nating mass, mga kapatid, from the word mass, okay, ibig sabihin, grupo or choral, both genres expanded significantly. So very important itong dalawang forms na ito of sacred music, with composers producing longer and more intricate pieces. So, mas longer na siya, mga kapatid. Okay? Maaari na sa medieval period, paulit-ulit lang eh. Paulit-ulit lang yung sound, paulit-ulit lang yung mga kinakanta nila. Pero dito, mga kapatid, they were now learning to make it more longer and more intricate pieces. So the mass became a central piece of church music, often set to polyphonic music rather than simple plain song. Kaya kung kaya kapag nakinig kayo ng Renaissance period, parang ang daming nangyayari sa music, sa tunog, sa kanta. Dahil ganyan po ang form ng Renaissance music. Composers wrote masses based on existing chants as well as newly composed material. So they are really composing new songs. Hindi monophonic way of composing, kundi polyphonic. Talagang dinidiin nila or ini-emphasize nila yung polyphonic way of singing sa panahon na to. So the motet became increasingly complex with sacred texts, often from the Bible, being set to polyphonic music. Again, motets were frequently used in liturgical contexts outside of the Mass, such as at Vespers or special services. Okay, pakinggan natin, mga kapatid. Another example of a music emphasizing what we are discussing sa part na to.
Task, this video is made for you. So in
Ayan. So, okay. So, thank you po. So, yan po ang, again, polyphonic way. Hindi na siya plain song. Ang daming nangyayari. Ano? Yan. So, next slide po tayo. Okay. Ano naman ang characteristics, mga kapatid, ng kanta sa point na ito? Polyphonic settings of the liturgy, including the ordinary of the Mass, which is the Kyrie, Gloria, Credo, Sanctus, and Agnus Dei. They were parts of the Masses, mga kapatid, na-discuss po yan sa medieval period, na discussion po natin. So texts were set in Latin with an increasing focus on clarity of diction to ensure that the audience could understand the sacred texts. So maaari, mga kapatid, na sa medieval period, ang emphasis ay yung tunog. Maaari po, mga kapatid. And also, hindi siya masyadong, ako bilang isang inclined sa music, hindi masyadong naiintindihan yung lyrics, not because of the singers, but because of the range of the voice. Okay? The way they sing the song. At maaari siguro, mga kapatid, na sa medieval period, in my own opinion, nakaapekto yung nangyayari sa environment, sa klase ng music na napoproduce sa church. I do not know if you can conform with my opinion, pero yun yung napansin ko. Kaya pagdating dito sa Renaissance, the word rebirth, okay, yung development ay talagang mas napayabong yung kanta na kinakanta or ginagamit sa loob po ng simbahan. Mga kapatid, yung focus ng clarity, okay? I mean, focus on clarity of diction para ma-ensure, yan, nagkaroon na sila ng idea, mga kapatid, para yung audience maintindihan yung kinakanta nila. That is why musical techniques such as imitations and counterpoint were refined. When we say refined, mga kapatid, kung ano yung mga hindi magaganda sa klase ng kanta ng medieval period, maaring, mga kapatid, ni-refine nila. So making the motet an expressive and emotional genre. Okay, sino naman po, mga kapatid, ang mga key influencers sa puntong ito ng Renaissance
Pero
period?
lumabas. Wala sa chart siguro. Ay,
Next slide po tayo. Okay, first is si Palestrina. Okay. So first, mga kapatid, is si Palestrina, the leading figure of the late Renaissance. Palestrina perfected the polyphonic mass. So his music was considered a model of clarity and balance, and his work played a significant role in the Counter-Reformation. Okay. So nabanggit dito, mga kapatid, ang Reformation. Okay? Yan. Next, si Orlando de Lasso, mga kapatid. A composer whose motets, masses, and madrigals influence both sacred and secular music. Sa mga susunod, mga kapatid, na discussions natin, we will be dwelling sa mga terms na motets, masses, and also yung madrigal. Okay? Way of singing. Now, number 3, mga kapatid, is the influence of humanism on sacred music. Humanism, the intellectual movement that emphasized the study of classical texts and a focus of human experience, had a profound effect on the arts during the Renaissance. No, kapag sinabi nating humanism, mga kapatid, remember these terms: intellectual movement. Okay? Na ang focus nito ay human experiences from the word humanism. Now, in music, ano ibig sabihin nito? This meant a renewed focus on the expression of human emotion and the relationship between text and music. So remember that, mga kapatid, expression of human emotion. So composers began to experiment with harmony, counterpoint, and melody in ways that reflected this humanist emphasis on beauty and expression. So, yung pagtingin nila sa musika, mga kapatid, sa period na to, is a way to express both the beauty of the divine and the complexity of human experience. So hindi na lang siya patungkol, mga kapatid, sa Diyos. Okay? Binibigyan din nila ng pansin yung complexity of human experience. Kaya ang mga composers, mga kapatid, sa panahon na to, okay, is very expressive sila pagdating sa emosyon ng tao. Okay? Composers sought to reflect the emotional depth of the sacred texts they set to music. So the increasing importance of secular music also influenced church composers, leading to a greater emphasis on melody and emotion, which could be felt in the liturgical context. Ayan, so makikita natin dito, mga kapatid, na yung melody, okay, yung melody, hindi na lang siya mabigat yung dating, hindi na lang siya basta kinakanta, kundi maaring namulat na, mga kapatid, yung kanila pong mga isipan, lalo na po sa mga composers, on how they will express themselves through music. So, music, mga kapatid, understood as a powerful vehicle for both spiritual contemplation and emotional expression. So, ang idea dito, mga kapatid, music could elevate the soul to God became more pronounced. So the Renaissance saw the rise of the idea that beauty in music reflected the beauty of God's creation. Kaya kung makikita niyo, mga kapatid, if you're going to compare the paintings sa panahon ng medieval at sa panahon, mga kapatid, ng Renaissance period, ang mga tao, ang mga painters, ang mga musikero, ang church music sa panahon po ng Renaissance period, more on, they are expressing themselves as human, and they are very attached in expressing the beauty of the creation, of God's creation. Kaya yung mga painting colorful eh. Iba po kung mapapansin nyo mga kapatid. Okay? And even yung music noon, talagang yun pong klase ng music ay sabihin natin colorful din. Sacred music was often crafted to inspire reverence, awe, and devotion. Yan. Sino nga ba ang key influencers dito? Of course, we all know this. Martin Luther. Martin Luther was the Protestant Reformation leader, emphasized congregational participation in worship, and included hymns in the vernacular to allow people to participate in the liturgy. Now, another term ulit, mga kapatid, hindi nabanggit yung salitang congregational participation in worship, okay? Lalong-lalo na sa medieval. Maaari, mga kapatid, na may participation ang congregation sa panahon ng medieval period, pero hindi yun na-emphasize. That is why when Martin Luther, okay, maaaring napansin niya, mga kapatid, and in-emphasize niya yung congregational participation in worship and included hymns. Ayan, so though Luther was not a composer himself, yung ideas niya mga kapatid ay naka-influence ng malaki sa church music. Second influencer, key influencer. Okay. Si Johannes Gutenberg. Si Johannes Gutenberg, mga kapatid, though hindi ho siya musician, hindi rin ho siya composer, pero malaki yung contribution niya, mga kapatid. Why? Because Gutenberg's invention of the printing press in the 15th century greatly affected church music by making it easier to spread musical works across Europe, allowing composers like Josquin and Palestrina to have a wider influence. So hindi na lang nila, mga kapatid, sinusulat sa iisang papel lang. Meron ng printing press sa point na to ng Renaissance. And that is because of the invention of Johannes Gutenberg. Yan. Next slide po. Mapunta tayo sa pang-apat, mga kapatid, which is the use of instruments in church music. Okay, so again, back to medieval period. Remember, mga kapatid, nung patapos ang medieval period, doon natin napakinggan or may mga tao doon or key influencer na inalaw na yung paggamit ng organ. Tama? But not all, hindi lahat, tinanggap kaagad. Kasi sa panahon ng medieval period, para sa kanila, yung paggamit ng instrument, kademonyohan. Okay? Ibig sabihin, sa demonyo yun. Alright? Pero dito po sa Renaissance, sa mga kapatid, iba naman yung atake nila. Because during the Renaissance, the use of instruments in church music gradually, ibig sabihin talaga hindi kaagad-agad, gradually became more accepted. Yan, tanggap na yung paggamit ng organ ng mga instruments sa loob ng church. That's why early organs were already present in churches. Pero ulit, their use was initially limited. So as the century progressed, organs became more sophisticated. The composers began to write specifically for instrumental accompaniment in worship settings. So, dito pala nag-start mga kapatid yung instrumental accompaniment. Di ba gustong-gusto natin mga kapatid na pinapakinggan ang mga instrumental accompaniment, yung wala siyang lyrics, walang kumakanta, pero merong melody. Yan ang instrumental accompaniment in worship settings. So dito pala nag-start yun mga kapatid sa Renaissance period. Instruments such as the organ, lute, and viol or viol were incorporated into sacred performance. Though vocal music remained the primary focus of liturgical music, inalaw man ang instrument, mga kapatid, ang primary focus pa rin is yung vocal way of music or I mean producing a music. Tignan natin kung ano ang klase, anong itsura ng organ noon. Yan po ang organ noon, mga kapatid. So sa gitna, mga kapatid, dun yung mga keys and then yung mga white dyan, yan yung mga pipes kung saan dyan lumalabas yung tunog ng organ. Okay? Ano naman ang klase ng lute? Yan. I am not sure if I'm correct with my pronunciation. Lute or lute. Yan. Yan ang lute, mga kapatid. And of course, viol or violin or viol. Yan. Yan yung inalaw na mga instruments sa panahon ng Renaissance period. Alright? So, pero, again, may resistance pa rin. And of course, tinanggap as many believed that instrumental music in the church could distract from the sacred nature of worship. However, okay, di ba, ni-resist nila, mga kapatid. By the late Renaissance, nung patapos na ang Renaissance period, this resistance diminished. So, instruments were mainly used to support vocal music and enhance the liturgical experience. So, I hope mga kapatid, while you are listening to the discussion, nai-imagine natin yung changes. Kasi yun naman yung point natin why we are looking back in the history of church music. Paano nagsimula? 'Di ba? Boses lang ang ginamit nung una hanggang sa gumawa sila ng paraan para mapaganda, mga kapatid, yung music na ginagamit sa loob ng church. And also nakita rin natin dito na yung environment pala ay nakaapekto sa klase ng music na pinapatugtog sa church. Okay, meron pala siyang epekto, no, mga kapatid. At makikita natin dito na sa Renaissance, okay, tanggap na yung paggamit ng instruments. Okay? So kaya pala, ah, alam na natin kung saan nanggaling yung belief, okay? Yung idea na kapag gumamit ka ng instrument, may mga nagsasabi, I'm not judging mga kapatid, pero may mga nagsasabi na kapag gumamit ka ng instrument, sa demonyo ka. Di ba? Pag gumamit ka ng maingay, sa demonyo ka. Yan ang sinasabi nila eh. Di ba? Alam na natin kung kahit noon pa man pala, meron ng ganong idea. Alright? Pero dito po, again, dito sa Renaissance period, instruments were mainly used to support vocal music and enhance the liturgical experience. So, ang instrument pala mga kapatid ay for the support and for enhancement. Alright. Tignan natin kung uh, sino po yung mga key influencers dito. Okay, first, si Girolamo or Girolamo Frescobaldi, though a later figure in the Baroque period, Frescobaldi's keyboard works, particularly for organ, were influenced by the Renaissance use of the instrument in liturgy. Siguro sa kapag napunta tayo sa Baroque period, mas magdidwell tayo dito kay Girolamo or Girolamo Frescobaldi. Okay. Next po, mga kapatid. Si Hans Leo Hassler. Okay? He was a German composer who contributed to the development of instrumental music for church services, especially in terms of the organ. Yan. So yun po, mga kapatid. Lastly, point number 5, meron pa ring mga conflicts. Okay? Dito na nag-start ang conflict, musical conflicts, the Reformation and the counter and Catholic counter Reformation. That was in 16th century. Saan naman patungkol ito? Sabi dito mga kapatid, mayroong ongoing tensions. What was the tension? The Protestant Reformation. Di ba nga ho, nabanggit mga kapatid si Martin Luther, okay, kanina, mga kapatid, and siya ang leader dito po sa Reformation movement, mga kapatid, brought about significant changes to church music. So may changes na naman. Anong changes ito? Reformers like Martin Luther rejected much, hindi lang unti, much of the complexity of Catholic liturgical music, advocating for congregational participation and simplicity. Maari, mga kapatid, na when we say complexity, maaring ang isa sa hindi tinanggap o isa sa mga nireject ni Martin Luther was the beliefs or doctrine of the Catholic Church sa kanila pong mga liturgical music. Because we all know, mga kapatid, na si Martin Luther presented his thesis regarding sa pag-refute, mga kapatid, doon sa belief system ng Catholic Church in his time. So Luther's reforms focus on congregational singing led to the introduction of hymns in the vernacular, empowering worshipers to actively participate in the service. So may mga kumakanta sa harapan sa congregation, kumakanta rin. Catholic Counter-Reformation, in response to the Reformation, the Catholic Church, yan, may response naman mga kapatid, ang Catholic Church, okay, ni-reject ni Martin Luther, pero ni-reaffirm ng Catholic Church yung kanilang traditions, including sacred music. See? So, the Council of Trent addressed issues of liturgical music, emphasizing the importance of clarity in the texts and minimizing the use of secular or overly complex elements. So tension nga ito, mga kapatid, sa pagitan po ng mga Protestant reformers and also the Catholic Counter-Reformation. Okay, next slide po tayo. So ano ngayon ang resolution, mga kapatid? And of course, hindi tumigil. May continuation, mga kapatid. The church ultimately retained the use of polyphonic music. Kahit man may tension, mga kapatid, na-retain pa rin ang paggamit ng polyphonic music. But with reforms that called for clarity in the song text, particularly during the Mass. So the tension between the Protestant emphasis on congregational participation and the Catholic focus on choir-led music led to different musical traditions developing in Protestant and Catholic contexts. Kaya kapag kumanta ang Catholic, I mean, ma-differentiate mo ang Protestant kind of music and also the music of the Catholic Church. Okay? Ang focus ng Protestant Reformation ay yung pagkanta kasama ang congregation. Pero ang Catholic, sa Catholic context, nakafocus siya sa choir-led music. Alright? So, sino po dito ang mga key influencer? Again, si Palestrina naman, mga kapatid, his music became a symbol of Catholic Church music after the reforms of the Council of Trent, emphasizing clear text setting and spiritual depth. Yan. So, dito po mga kapatid, again ini-emphasize na nila yung text nung music na kinakanta nila. Okay? And spiritual depth. Pakinggan natin mga kapatid. Another example.
Do you need a website? Try striking.
Alright. So, yan. Yan po mga kapatid, yung klase ng music by Palestrina. Okay? So, sa Latin ho siya kinakanta, mga kapatid. Okay. So, another key influencer was Johann Sebastian Bach. I do not know if you're familiar with this Johann na ito. Though from the Baroque period, Bach's work would continue the legacy of Lutheran hymns and chorales influenced by the Protestant Reformation. So makikita natin dito mga kapatid may nagpatuloy sa klase ng music, okay, na meron pong influence si Martin Luther at si Palestrina ang nagkaroon po ng opportunity para mas mapalaganap pa ang Catholic church way of singing or producing music. Yan. So, from this key influencer, si Johann Sebastian Bach, which is nabanggit po ang Baroque period. Okay, so titingnan natin kung ano po ang susunod, mga kapatid, na period after this Renaissance. So, tapos na po tayo mga kapatid sa Apostolic era, alright? Tapos na tayo sa medieval period or medieval era. And then ngayong gabi, we have already discussed the Renaissance era or period. Okay? At nawa, nakikita natin yung pagkakaiba, yung changes,
Gear to video.
yung
In
development.
seconds. What if you could
Alright?
turn a single
Ng,
sentence into a cinematic video scene in less than a minute? With Video Express AI, you can
meron
just
pong
type what you
sound
imagine
as
or
well. Ayan. Okay. So, again, as I was saying, sana nakikita ho natin at na-appreciate namin. Ako, I myself, really appreciate the changes, the development, the progress na habang pinag-aaralan ko po ito, yung reaction na, ganun pala. Okay, hindi na pala bago yung ganitong idea. Nag-start na pala siya noon-noon pa, matagal na panahon na. Okay? At mas na-appreciate talaga natin ang buhay kapag, na-appreciate natin yung buhay sa kasalukuyan sa pagtingin natin sa kung ano yung nangyari nung unang mga panahon. Even sa church or history of church music, we can really understand the beauty of church music. Okay, so that's all for tonight's discussion. Thank you so much for listening. I will be giving back the mic to Pastor Rod. Praise the Lord. That's the church music in Renaissance period. To God be the glory.
So try nating pakinggan po yung isa sa mga sikat na naririnig nating background minsan ay composition ni Bach, ni
Alright,
Johann
sige.
Sebastian Bach. Yung intro pa lang, eto, sigurado kabisado niyo to. Oh, yun, di ba?
Yeah, opo.
Actually, maraming sikat na talaga si Bach. So yun yung Toccata and Fugue.
Grabe. Ang dami.
Sa D minor at saka dissonant. So yun, yung intro niya yung sikat doon, yung bandang intro.
Vibe Coding 101 Part 3. Stop typing your...
So yun lang. Pero marami siyang mga gandang composition, di ba?
Oo, Pas. At yan ang pag-aaralan natin next meeting. The Baroque period.
Baroque
Yeah.
period.
Yeah.
Para ma-excite sila.
Yeah, ako, I myself, Pas, talagang na-appreciate ko itong subject na to.
So, yun lang. Kung may question kayo, pwede po kayo mag-questions. Kung wala na, screenshot po tayo.
Ayan, no? Sige, screenshots po tayo. Ayun, yun.